This reunion between Lytieunu and Truong was different from all the others. It wasn't just another fleeting moment of separation, but rather the moment they finally found each other again. As Lytieunu ran toward Truong, she wrapped her arms around him, holding him tight, as if to make up for all the time they had lost. Though taken by surprise, Truong didn't pull away. Instead, he returned her embrace, feeling a warmth that had been missing for so long. Dewey, excited and happy to see them together, rushed forward, hugging Truong's leg with all his might, eager to be part of this long-awaited moment. The three of them together, at last, shared a simple, pure happiness that words could hardly capture. From a distance, Truong's mother watched with quiet joy. She had seen the struggles, the separations, but now she was witnessing something even more profound, the healing power of family love and time. It wasn't just a reunion. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope and unity. Don't miss this heartwarming moment. Watch the video to see how Lytieunu and Truong found their way back to each other and how they embraced their new beginning. Be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next emotional chapter. The morning sun slowly rose, casting a warm golden hue on the dirt road leading to Truong's foster mother's house. Lytieunu walked beside Dewey, gently holding his hand, as if guiding him through the long journey they had both experienced. A sense of anticipation mixed with unease lingered in her heart. She wasn't sure how Truong's foster mother would welcome her after so many months apart. In her hand, Lytieunu carried a small gift, a bag of homemade cookies. It was something she had been meaning to bring for a long time, a simple gesture to express her gratitude for the warmth and kindness she had always felt during her visits. She hoped it would bring a smile to the woman who had once treated her like family. When they reached the gate, Lytieunu paused for a moment before calling out softly, "Hello, Auntie." Her voice broke the silence of the garden like a quiet melody after a long time. The wooden gate creaked open, revealing Truong's foster mother sitting on the porch, carefully stitching an old shirt of Truong's. Her focus was so intense that she didn't seem to notice them at first. Lytieunu stood there for a while, watching the elderly woman with a mixture of respect and curiosity. The lines on her face spoke of time and struggle, but her hands moved steadily as if her sewing was a small act of love that bridged the gap between past and present. Dewey stood beside her, eyes wide with wonder, as if silently asking what would happen next. Lytieunu gently placed the bag of cookies on the wooden table beside her. "What are you making, Auntie?" she asked, her voice soft, hoping not to disturb the peaceful moment. The woman looked up, her gaze distant at first, as though trying to recognize the person before her. After a brief pause, a warm smile spread across her face. "I'm fixing Truong's old shirt. It's worn out, but I want him to have it. Even though he doesn't remember anymore, I still want to take care of him," she said, her voice tinged with both love and sadness. Her eyes lingered on the shirt, as if it were a symbol of the boy she had once cared for so deeply. Lytieunu was taken aback by this. She had always believed that the woman had no children of her own, but now she was hearing about her adopted son. "So, Truong is your adopted son?" Lytieunu asked, her voice filled with surprise. The woman nodded, her expression calm, yet full of years of unspoken emotions. Yes, Truong is my son. He may not remember me, but in my heart, he will always be my child, she replied softly, as if saying it out loud had become a routine part of her life. A heaviness settled in Tieunu's chest. She hadn't expected this, and now so many questions filled her mind. Where is he now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with worry. The woman sighed quietly, her eyes turning towards the window. He's at the market, selling betel nuts, she answered calmly, but Tieunu could sense the underlying worry in her words. She had spent years caring for Truong, but still there was an uncertainty about him, about whether he was truly okay. After a brief silence, the foster mother spoke again. Would you like to stay for lunch, dear? She asked, her tone gentle, inviting with no need for further explanation. Tieuनु felt a warm feeling inside, yet uncertainty lingered. She had initially planned to leave, but something in the woman's gaze made her hesitate. I'd love to stay, Tieunu replied with a small smile, her heart easing a little. She couldn't help but wonder, though, what had happened to Truong. Why didn't he remember her? Where was he now? These questions echoed in her mind as she stepped inside the house where the meal for three was being prepared, and where she hoped just maybe answers would begin to surface. Truong returned from the market feeling a sense of relief as the weight of his day faded. The basket he had been carrying, once full of betel nuts, was now empty. The midday sun was scorching, but as he stepped through the gate, he felt a sudden warmth emanating from his foster mother's house. There she was sitting on the porch, focused on mending one of his old shirts. The sight of her brought a quiet sense of peace, as if everything was right in the world for that moment. You're back. His foster mother looked up, her eyes soft, her smile as warm as the sun outside. I'm fixing this shirt for you. It's old, but I want to keep it for you. Even if you don't remember, I'll always take care of you. Her words, simple yet full of love, made Truong's heart swell, though the memories of the past were still a blur to him. Thanks, Mom. Truong replied, a smile tugging at his lips as he looked at the shirt in her hands, feeling an overwhelming sense of comfort. By the way, we have a guest today. She added, a hint of surprise in her tone. Truong, startled, asked, Who's here, Mom? The question felt odd to him, as if something was missing, something that didn't quite fit. She smiled, her eyes drifting towards the garden. Truong felt like he was stepping into a strange moment, as if something awaited him, but he couldn't quite place it. His gaze then shifted towards the kitchen. Through the window, he saw a woman busy inside, moving in a way that felt both familiar and foreign. His heart skipped. There was something about her he couldn't remember, but she seemed strangely connected to him. He couldn't explain why, but the feeling was undeniable. Suddenly, a boy came running in, throwing his arms around Truong without hesitation. The embrace felt natural, as though they had known each other forever. Truong froze, feeling a rush of confusion. Who was this boy? He remembered seeing him earlier at the market, but why was he here now? The sense of connection was undeniable, yet Truong couldn't make sense of it. Inside the kitchen, Tieuunu caught a glimpse of him through the window. Her heart ached at the sight of him standing there with his foster mother. But as their eyes met, a wave of uncertainty hit her. Was this really Truong? The man before her was familiar, yet somehow different stranger, yet still the same. The love she had for him, the connection they once shared, seemed like a distant memory now. Lytieunu could no longer hold back. A rush of emotions flooded her as she remembered all the months of longing, worry, and pain. Without thinking, she ran out from the kitchen, her legs unable to stop her. Everything around her seemed to slow down as her heart pounded faster and faster, as if the moment was inevitable. As she reached Truong, she threw herself into his arms, holding him tightly, as if fearing he might vanish the moment she let go. She could feel the warmth of his body, the strength she had always craved. Truong stood still, overwhelmed by the sudden rush of emotions. The world around him seemed to spin. But one thing was undeniable. There was something so familiar about this embrace. Truong began, but before he could finish, Lytieunu whispered softly into his ear, her voice filled with warmth. I'm Lytieunu, and you're Truong, the one I love. His heart tightened a pain in his chest as the name Lytieunu echoed in his mind, bringing with it a wave of emotion he couldn't place. His memories were blurry, but in this moment, he felt a deep connection to her. He held her tighter, as if trying to never let her go. At that moment, Dewey the boy he had seen earlier at the market ran up to them and naturally embraced Truong's leg. The sense of familiarity washed over him again, but he was still confused. Who was this boy? Truong's heart ached as he saw Dewey clinging to him, but his mind couldn't remember. Lytieunu looked at Dewey, and then at Truong's foster mother, who stood silently. From a distance, her eyes filled with understanding. She said nothing, but smiled gently, as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. This was the culmination of months of waiting hope and patience. Unable to hold back, Lytieunu's tears fell. She hugged Truong tighter, feeling both the pain and the hope rise within her. You still don't remember me, she whispered. Truong didn't respond, but he held her tighter as if to protect her, even though his memory hadn't returned. He didn't remember her, but in this embrace, he felt a strange familiarity, like a part of him that had always been there. Dewey's eyes filled with tears never took his eyes off Truong. The boy seemed to want to share something with him, a part of his memory, as if telling him that this was his family, his real family, even though his memories were still lost. Dewey hugged Truong's leg again, as naturally as if Truong had always been the father he knew. Truong. His foster mother's voice broke the moment as she approached them. She gently patted his shoulder and spoke softly. Don't worry, son. Your memories will return. But for now, feel the love of this family. It will help you remember everything. Truong looked up at her, his eyes filled with emotions he couldn't express. He didn't remember, but in each hug, in each touch from Lytieunu and Dewey, he felt something real. He knew without a doubt that this was his family, a family he had once known, even if his memories hadn't fully returned. Lytieunu looked at Truong, then at Dewey, her eyes full of determination. She knew that even if Truong's memories didn't come back immediately, this family had been reborn. Together, they would build everything from the beginning again. She believed their love was strong enough to overcome any challenge. His foster mother stood there watching the three of them with love and hope in her eyes. Family is where we find peace. Memories may return, or they may not, but the love and bond we share will never fade, she said gently, then turned back to the garden, leaving the three of them surrounded by warmth and love. Lytieunu felt a strange calm inside her, as if a long journey had finally come to an end. But she knew that no matter what the future held, this family would always be together with or without the memories. What mattered was the love and connection that would never fade. The three of them stood there embracing each other, as if nothing could ever tear them apart. As the afternoon wore on, the harshness of the midday sun faded, leaving soft golden rays streaming through the window. The warmth of the house wrapped around Truong and Dewey as they sat together in the quiet room. No words were spoken, yet the air was filled with unspoken understanding. The three of them, despite the passage of time and the missing memories, felt a quiet sense of unity, knowing that love, not time, would hold them together. Lytieunu sat close to Truong, watching him intently. She could see the confusion in his eyes, but also the flicker of recognition, faint but undeniable. Truong, though uncertain, seemed to return her gaze with a gentleness she hadn't seen before. He may not remember, but his actions told her that something deep within him was beginning to reconnect. Dewey, sitting by Truong's side, still held onto his leg, as if not willing to let go of the newfound father he had just discovered. Truong, though he didn't remember, the boy felt an inexplicable warmth whenever he looked at him, as if this boy was somehow a part of him. The connection, though still unclear, was undeniable. Truong. Lytieunu's voice was gentle, filled with patience and hope. I know you don't remember, but I believe you will someday. Truong turned to look at her, a sadness in his eyes. I don't remember, Lytieunu, he said quietly. I can't remember anything. Lytieunu didn't reply right away. She understood his pain, the frustration of not being able to recall the most important parts of one's life. But she wasn't giving up. She knew their love was strong enough to heal even the deepest wounds. You may not remember me now, but I know your heart does. You haven't forgotten, Truong. You'll remember everything. His silence spoke volumes, but her words, though simple, were a comfort. He wanted to believe her, but his memories were so distant, so faded. Looking at her, he felt like a stranger in his own life, unable to understand why his heart raced when he was near her. From the side, Truong's foster mother watched with quiet understanding. She turned to Lytieunu, her voice soft, but filled with certainty. You know, I always thought love would be the key. Love is what will guide him back to himself. Lytieunu nodded, her eyes filled with resolve. She knew that one day Truong would recognize her. She believed his heart would remember, even if the memories had been erased. This love they shared would be the thread that pulled him back to her. The evening passed in a peaceful silence. No more words were needed. They simply sat together, understanding without speaking, knowing that even if Truong's memories hadn't returned yet, their bond was unbreakable. Later, they sat down to dinner. Still not many words, but the warmth was there. Truong ate slowly, occasionally glancing at Lytieunu. his eyes still filled with confusion. But there was a gentleness that made Lytieunu feel at ease. She knew he didn't remember yet, but at least he no longer felt alone. He wasn't facing the uncertainty by himself. She would stay by his side, waiting for the day when his memories would come back. Truong's foster mother watched them with a sense of peace, knowing that this family, though fractured, would come together again. She had waited for this moment, and now she believed love would carry them through. The meal ended quietly, but Lytieunu felt an unexpected lightness in her heart. No answers had come, but she could feel the connection with Truong growing. One day, he would remember, and when that time came, they would be whole again. Until then, she would never leave his side. Together, the three of them sat in the warm glow of the house, surrounded by the love that had never faded, waiting for the next chapter of their story to unfold. This moment, though simple, was the beginning of something new, a new start where love would always remain, even if memories were lost.